Welcome to Dr. Piercy's Downloading and Installing Tomcat. In this video, you will learn what a web server is and what it does. You'll see how to download and install Tomcat. And then we'll make sure that our Eclipse and Tomcat installations are connected. A web server is a computer that is dedicated to serving content to a client upon request. But that's not the only definition. For our uses, a web server is a software application that is dedicated to serving content to a client upon request. So you can think of the hardware as the computer that web server software runs on. We're going to be using a web server to test our web applications as we build them in Eclipse. So imagine you're sitting around about to create some type of dynamic web project on Eclipse. So in this case, you're going to be in editing mode. First, you'll spin up Eclipse and get the IDE running. You'll start typing away in order to create the various components that will make up your application. These could be HTML, Java, JSP, CSS, or any of a number of other types of files that you can create with Eclipse. When you're ready to test what you've done and actually see it in action, you will ask Eclipse to run your application on a server. So in that point, you'll be moving into viewing mode in order to see the results of what you've been creating. When you ask it to, Eclipse will spin up a web server. We're going to use the Apache Tomcat web server. Once the web server is up and running, your web browser will also pop up, showing you the results of the files that you've created. So to create and test our dynamic web projects locally on your own machine, you're going to need Eclipse as the IDE to create the files. You'll need a web server and a web browser to view the files. Once you have these things, you'll be able to go back and forth from editing mode to viewing mode, back to editing mode and viewing mode until your application is complete and ready to deploy. As mentioned, we will be using Apache Tomcat as our web server. Tomcat is an open source web server and servlet container that is developed by the Apache Software Foundation. You can find Tomcat at this URL, tomcat.apache.org. Here we're looking at the Apache Software Foundation website. You can find this at www.apache.org. The Apache Software Foundation, as it says, provides support for the Apache community of open source software projects which provide software products for the public good. This foundation creates many important software projects, as we'll see. Of current interest is the Apache Tomcat web server. Apache Tomcat has its own page at tomcat.apache.org. This is where you need to go to download the version of Tomcat that we're going to be using. For the needs in our course, click on Tomcat 7 under Download in the left navigation section. Here we see lots of information about the download. We're going to download a binary distribution. You're going to want to get the one that works for you. I recommend the Windows Service Installer for anybody using Windows. For Mac, I'm going to go with the tar.gz to download. Click on the tar.gz under Core for the binary distribution. Note the name of the file and where it's going to go, and then click Save to get it started. Tomcat is not a very large file, so it takes very little time for it to download. Here we can see, using the Finder application, that I have downloaded it into my Downloads folder. I'm going to go ahead and unzip this here, and we see that there's a folder, Apache Tomcat version 7 0.42. I don't like to keep it in my Downloads folder. I like to keep that pretty clean, so I'm going to move mine over into the Applications folder, and we can see that my folder is placed there. It's important to note where you've put this, because once we have it, we're going to have to connect that to our Eclipse installation. Let's do that now. Here we see Eclipse. To make sure that we have the proper connection to our Apache Tomcat server, select Preferences in Eclipse. This may be Options or something along those lines in a Windows installation. In Preferences, you'll see all the different things that you can set for your Eclipse IDE. We're going to want to set a server installation, so let's expand this and select Runtime Environment. Yours may be relatively empty compared to mine because I've set up several different servers as I've used Eclipse. What you don't see is Apache Tomcat version 7, so I need to add a runtime environment to this list. Click on the Add button. Be sure to open the Apache folder and select the version that you want to add. I'm selecting Apache Tomcat version 7. Then I'm going to select Next. The name is here, but now I need to choose the Tomcat installation directory. Select Browse. You may need to browse to your Applications folder and select the folder for Tomcat. Click Open. Now you should see the Tomcat installation directory is listed here. Also note that we've specified the JRE that Tomcat will be working with. Now click Finish. Note that Apache Tomcat is now added to my runtime environments. Click OK. Now I'm going to quickly test that by creating a dynamic web application. You will learn more how to do this in a later video. New dynamic web project. Give this a name. I'm going to call this Tomcat Test. Check where it's going. Pick Apache Tomcat as my runtime. Notice the web module version. Sometimes, depending on your target runtime, this needs to change. Looks good. I'm going to hit Finish. Over in the Project Explorer window, I can see that a new folder for my Tomcat Test application has been created, and I can see its folder structure. I'm going to simply create, in the Web Content folder, a new, very simple JSP file. Let's call it index.jsp. Use regular HTML mark. In the editor, I can see that my file has been created. Let's simply make a title, make a headline. Just want to make a simple page so I can see something. So now when we run this application, the Tomcat server should spin up. It will load this page by default because we named it index.jsp. Then it will spin up our browser and show us the results of that page. We should see up in the title bar the word Tomcat Test. We'll see in the body of the web page Tomcat Test as a headline, and then the paragraph "It works." To run this one, I'm going to right-click on Tomcat Test, select Run As, Run on Server. At this point, you may have to select which server you want to use. I'm going to open the Apache, select this. I'm also going to check, always use this server when running this project. Hit Next, then Finish. You should notice down here that the Server tab and Tomcat Server has been started. Now we see our web page is opened up and it shows our results. Tomcat Test, it works. So we can see that our Tomcat installation is ready to go and we're ready to start building dynamic web applications using the Eclipse IDE and the Tomcat server. For further information related to what you've seen in this video, check out the Apache Software Foundation's website at www.apache.org. Also, for everything related to Eclipse, look at Eclipse Foundation Incorporated's website at eclipse.org. This video was written, narrated, and produced by Dr. Craig A. Piercy under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike license. Background music for this video was DC 3000 by Thievery Corporation from the Wired CD Rip Sample Mass Share 2004. This has been a Piercy production.